A lot of brands are saying, hey, we understand what lo-fi, face-to-camera, unhinged and unedited looks like, but we may be a product that is still trying to convey a sense of credibility and quality.
I think a lot of this is one, being platform right, but then two, being tool appropriate. Welcome to the Brand Fathers. Each week, we break down the latest in branding and marketing to try to help you get better at your job or to learn something about this industry. Today, Ashwin and I are going to be examining what does it look like to do premium content in the TikTok iPhone era. We are talking to brands every week, and this is a constant subject that continues to come up. So we're going to dive into examples of content that we see that is premium, that is social right, and then also premium brands that are doing TikTok lo-fi content that can cut through. So without further ado, we can jump in. Ashwin, your thoughts from a high level on this topic?
Yeah, I think this dovetails really well with the episode that we did last week talking to Marcus Milioni from Minted, because he has a running apparel brand and he's done a lot of the behind the scenes content building that brand, but has done a amazing job making the content feel a little bit more cinematic, a little bit more documentary style. And I think a lot of brands, and this isn't just luxury brands, right? A lot of brands are saying, hey, we understand what lo-fi looks like. We understand what face to camera looks like. We understand what unhinged and unedited looks like, but we may be a product that is still like trying to convey a sense of like credibility and quality. And we want to make sure there's still some polish there. So I think this is really an episode for brands that fit into that category, that are asking like, what do good examples of this look like for social? And so really what we're going to do in this episode is just look at a bunch of examples, talk about how it's good, why it's good, how it works for these various brands, with the hopes that then this is a guide for you as you are talking to your teams or you're thinking about your own content strategy for your brand.
Yes. And I think it's important to start with the definition that I often teach in my branding workshops, which is a brand is the space that a company or individual occupies in someone's mind. And so I think it's important that we want to be able to occupy a place in people's mind. And I think the real challenge that we are talking to brands about on a weekly basis, and quite frankly, what we dealt with at Nike a lot, is you're historically a very premium brand. And as social media has continued to be the primary consumption place for most of your audience and has increasingly become lo-fi, like how do you maintain that premium presence? And it's really hard. I would say my first encouragement to people is if you want to occupy a space in someone's mind, you need to be top of mind and you need to be able to cut through. And so I still think there's a way for you to do premium content, but you have to alter it in some way to make sure that it's going to get seen and that it's going to be platform right. And so we've got some good examples for you here.
Yeah, let's start with this first one. Jordan, both you and I love this creator. This is not a brand, but I think there's an important lesson here that blends both the lo-fi social feel plus hi-fi content. So let's take a look at that.
For every year since the beginning of time? What?
Life could be a dream.
Okay, so we'll pause that there. First, let's just look at the engagement on this. 17 million views, 118,000 comments.
Google in the comments.
I mean, preposterous amount of engagement on this video. Now, this is this creator, Wisdom Kaye. He's a stylist. He has phenomenal sense of style, always puts together very outrageous, incredible outfits. And
yeah.
He does a great job kind of responding to his community. So the first 3 seconds of that video was a response to a comment left on a previous video where they're like, I dare you to try to pull this off. So that's like
Make an outfit.
A great kind of hook, right? That's super lo-fi. There's like, he just turned the camera on and started recording this. So that was the first 3 seconds. But the rest of it, you know, highly editorial, well curated, the sound design, like the shot design, the color grading, it all looks really, really good. So I think there's a nice blend there where let's actually say that the first 3 seconds of the video was not that, and it started at that 1000 BC or 2000 BC
Sure, yeah.
audio. I'm not going to go out there and say like it wouldn't have performed that well, but like without the context in mind of like what is he about to do and why am I going to commit to watching this? I mean, it has 84 million views. I'd probably put it at like, I don't know, maybe it gets like 3-4 million views, you know? Like, it has to be packaged right. That opening matters a lot.
Well, and I think package right means it's platform right.
Yeah.
So his whole bit is that he responds to the comments. My gosh, Will.i.am is in the comments. But like you said, I think I took this from you, Ashwin, which is the content is in the comments. And this gentleman does the best job. So basically his shtick is that people will just constantly comment like wacky, crazy things and challenges for him to pull off. And his whole bit is like, he starts every video with going, what? There is no possible way I could possibly, and then boom, it like cuts into like this really highly curated, 4K red camera, like studio. Yeah. I think there's so many things here. One is it's platform right. So he's got the comment, question response. 2, it opens with the iPhone and then moves into the red camera or the really fancy stuff, which we have other examples of as well. I think is a good best practice. 2, he's got a trending audio on there that is like relevant for the platform. And then 3, I think I'm really obsessed with this concept. I think I coined this phrase, but like 1 + 1 + 1 = none. And every time I've seen Wisdom, I think that this is a beautiful time in social to be a creative generalist. And maybe I'm just projecting because I'm kind of a creative generalist, but I think like if you can be like pretty engaging on camera, a pretty good style. Like, I don't know. He's obviously has an incredible sense of style, but like maybe he's not the best stylist. Maybe he's not the best content creator, and maybe he's not the best on camera. But when you put all 3 of those together, that's like pretty good. That then becomes like you are in the upper echelon. And I see this with music artists all the time. Like if they're good and pretty creative at doing these short form cinematic TikToks, they can go through the roof. And I bet you there's some classically trained musicians who are like, oh, well, they're not as good as I am. Well, but they're pretty creative. They're pretty good with a concept of like video. And so once you merge those together, then you have like, you're in the 1%.
Yes. I was talking about this on a podcast yesterday where the host of the podcast like introduced me and was like, you are like the branding expert. You're like so good. I followed you for years now. Like it's exceptional. How'd you get all this insight? And I was like, I'm honored that you think that, but like, let's just stop for a second here. I'm probably like a B- on like brand and brand strategy and visual design. I'm like a C-rate designer. Like I have like a generalist ability in this world of branding. And like, I have maybe more than average insight in the CPG space, but by no means am I like, there's like 100 people that I personally know who are far, far better than me.
Of course.
This idea of like, well, I'm one of maybe like 10 or 5 who are like making content about it. And then I'm maybe like one of 2 that are like making it more accessible to like the average person who's not in the industry. So then as a byproduct of that, it's like, I see this guy every day talking about this. Like, surely he must be the best at this. And it's like, no, that's just this opportunity. And I think that's really interesting. Like 1 + 1 + 1 = none. You just become like, and if there's no other competition when you blend all of your things together.
Yeah, which I mean, Naval, I think, says you escape competition through authenticity, which I think is a good thing. All of us, I think the commonality that we have, you, me, and Oren. Oren, by the way, is in China on some incredible, like
very authentic, on brand for him.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And so we like lean into our curiosities. I always think like your content is such a great example of like, you're just endlessly fascinated. Like you can't walk into a grocery store without like analyzing all the aisles. And I can't do that when I go to a sporting event or a Dick's Sporting Goods. Like I'm just like questioning everything. And so that's just leaning into our curiosity a little bit. And so we're naturally following those things. And I think Wisdom here is a great example of like, he's got a great sense and style and he loves doing it. And then he's also good at social and pretty good at camera or film. And I don't know what his setup is, but it seems like he's doing a lot of it. I'm sure he's outsourced some, but it's a brilliant example.
Let's actually take that a step further with Wisdom, right? So if I'm listening to this and I am a fashion brand, right? Like fashion brands, they'll have all of their clothes and they'll think about like, okay, like, how do we maybe like partner with some influencers who can do like get ready with me, and like they style their outfit as they like walk around New York City for the day. If I'm them, I look at a video like Wisdom just did here, and I'm like, oh, okay, he styled these outfits as though they belong at a certain era and time. Maybe our collection of clothes can't quite match that, but how could I play off of that idea with our clothing? Like, and maybe I do something super specific where I'm like, okay, this is the outfit that you wear. Say it's a New York City brand. This is the outfit that you wear if you're going to, or if like New York City restaurants were our outfits, right? And it's like, the Don Angie outfit looks like this from our collection. The, whatever, Thai diner outfit looks like this. And you kind of play into idiosyncrasies that just draw this uncommon like comparison that then make for more interesting social. I think there's ways to look at people like him and like apply a concept to yourself or like abstract it to your own brand.
Absolutely. Let's look at some other, we've got some other examples of brands.
We'll
give you examples of how we can integrate that.
Yo, Sauce Boss.
How you doing? I got an idea for us. Where can we meet?
Let's meet by the bridge.
All right. Say less.
See you there. Sauce Boss, what's going on, man?
What up, baby?
Chillin', how you doing?
Good. So I'm thinking, you're already running the cheddar waffle over there.
Yep.
What if we did a Parmesan waffle with the chicken parm with the sauce and run that up in the shop for a little while?
Okay.
It's a lot of.
So we've got this like narrative playing. So number one, the first thing is like, it's not shot 9:16.
I know. Right? It's like wild. It drives me crazy, but it works when it works.
Yeah. So this stuff is shot for, it probably like lives on YouTube here, but we're watching a video that is between like Sweet Chick, Lunch Wine, Montes Sauce. And let's actually click over to Montes Sauce because this is where I came from. And they make this little story and they're like telling this like mobster style story of, hey, like what if we like created this, like this new menu item, like that menu item is already like played out. And it has this like narrative arc. And it's just like, it's not something that you're really going to see on in your feed. And so when you do see it, it's like, okay, what's this like little movie that I'm watching here? And it's like, oh, it's funny. I see it's set in New York. And it's like, there's a few brands that I know that are involved here. And Montes does this interesting job where like they have some of that lower fi content, but I think every like fifth video they shoot with that same cast of characters. If we click that guy in the red, I think that's one of them.
Bro, let me go. What's up, chef? I got the sauce. Let's make some meatballs. I'll show you basically how grandma used to make them. Work that parm on, baby. I'll say when I'm dead. And like my grandmother always said, you got to roll them counterclockwise. It's about the curvature of the hand.
So you see, it's like, I think when we look at this, so the first thing, so number one, like 9:16, it's like premium quality content from like how it's shot, the color grading, the sound, all of that stuff. It looks like a production here. But when I look at this, I'm like, okay, this isn't TV content that is then cut down for social. It's like, this is social first content, meaning the scene is changing every 3 seconds. Yeah. It opens with that hook, that scene from the trunk where it opens and he's like, I got the burgers, bro. We're a minute and a half in and the entire story has been told, that's not a, hey, today I'm here with Rachel Ray and we're cooking meatballs. And then it's like 18 minutes of preparation of the meatballs. Like it's really a social first high production film. And I think that is an important lesson for brands of thinking about how they structure these scenes and the edits.
Well, the other thing here too is that it's like character driven. And so I think if you were to take the television version of this, you're going to open over a wide shot of New York. You're going to hear taxis going. You're going to see some traffic. And then, maybe the car pulls up and the, ignition goes off and someone steps out. But here it's like you're immediate, like the trunk slams and that's your hook, it grabs your attention. And then you have this like bald guy with this cool tracksuit and that's character driven. So it's like, one, it's got a great hook. Two, it then is character driven. And it's just so funny to me, like as a Texan, I mean, you're there in New York, but like the New York caricature and shtick and Italian thing, like just never, it's an endless well of content and supply. I immediately thought of like ALD, you know, the menswear fashion brand, who also is a good example of they only do premium content. They have never done an iPhone anything, and they have beautiful cinematography, but it's so much of, but they also are tapping into all of their caricatures of like cool people in New York who are less than like A1 celebrity, but like if you know, you know. And it's just it's a great reminder that like the character is the city, the character is whoever that cat is. Oh, look, their new FootJoy collaboration, doing golf content. But
Did you play a role in that, Jordan?
no, they sent me some, which I feel very grateful for. And it's kind of weird that I used to stan this brand, and now they send me stuff. It's awesome. But
Wow.
so fun. They got great people over there doing great work. So and that footwear is fire. FootJoy is doing a great job of collaborating. I think that's a great example. And yeah, it's a spaghetti sauce brand. So
Yeah.
you can do it too. Let's take a look at
Sult.
what's up next.
A company called Sult from scratch, and today we're doing our ecom shoot, the self-serve ecom shoot. Henry's also wearing this terrible merch from Sult, so please ignore. So today we had to shoot the product, but we didn't have the product, so we got sent this terrible mock-up of the Salt sachets, and it was just awful. It was so budget, but we did get our friends involved. We had about 5-6 of our lovely friends to get in front of the camera and shoot some of the flavors. The mood board was to make the Salt look sexy, and that's exactly what we did. We delivered. This was Alex making condensation on a glass with some like spray. It's such a science geek. I love it. Also, can I just say, no one tells you how long these shoot days are. I think this is like 7-8 hour shoot. It was really tiring. Also, Henry, of course, got behind the camera and tried to take over Alex's job. Anyway, all these shots go on the website, so we just tried to get as many as possible to like bulk out the website. There were some absolute gorgeous ones in there. These are my two besties.
Yeah.
Some to just.
So I think this is why I flagged this one is I think we've highlighted behind the scenes like founder-led content before, where even when we were looking at some of Marcus's like early content, it was, you know, there's no sound, there's no voiceover. He's just talking face to camera and then like flips his camera around. He's like, I'm in Shopify right now. We have like bots attacking our website. That's a day. And it's like this 30-second video, and like it belongs on TikTok and it's great. And I think when I looked at this video from Salt, it's almost like the evolution of that founder-led storytelling and behind the scenes, and it's shot on an iPhone, so it's still like low production, but it has this slightly more polish on it, right? Where they put together all these shots, they do the voiceover, they add a little soundtrack to it, and now I look at this and I'm like, oh, it's like a nice video. It's like well thought. It like has beginning, middle, and end. They like walk through the stay, and this is something like, you know, we looked at these examples, like the Montes example, right? You're going to want to bring in a cinematographer for that. And like, you might hire some actors for it. This is something where you're still documenting the behind the scenes. There's no hired actors for this. They're still shooting it on a phone. And the way that you really do this is you get all of the B-roll throughout the day, right? As you notice, like in none of these shots are they directly talking to the camera. So like we're on site today, we're going to capture a bunch of video footage. You then throw this stuff into CapCut afterwards. You voice over the narrative or the story that you're going to tell for a couple of minutes, clip this stuff together, and then you just put like a fun sound on the back, and it really elevates the whole thing. So I love what they've done here, and I think this is something that like brands can do on a budget on their own.
Yeah, Antonio, let's look at some of the images that they got from this shoot. I think this is a good like complementary version of this, where this is the behind the scenes, and I see this a lot with luxury brands. We're going to see this with like Loewe and others, where you may be capturing assets that still are premium and right for your website, or for Instagram is still a place where premium content can work well. But this behind the scenes video works. So like, say you were going to do a carousel of some premium images, maybe that would make sense, or maybe that goes in paid. There you go. There's a good example of that. Like, but a behind the scenes on how they got these shots is like probably a really fun story and really similar to what you just showed. So there's still a place for this. So I think a lot of this is, one, being platform right, but then two, being tool appropriate. So Instagram has many tools in one app. So like Reels will serve a purpose, and certain things will do well in Reels, certain things will do well in Carousel, certain things will do well in your story. And making sure that you're doing the right content for each one of those is, look, it's a pain in the butt, y'all. Look, this is hard stuff. Ashwin, we're creators. We're doing this stuff on a daily basis. And sometimes you're just like, I just want to post the dang thing and not have to think about this. But you know, if you actually want to cut through and you do want to occupy a space in someone's brain, you've got to be seen. And so you got to obsess these details.
Yep.
All right, that's a good example. What's up next?
Pop up in this brand, Ocean and Sun.
I like that.
Here's what I find as a kind of like, if we look at Montes, right? Number of different scenes, number of different characters.
Yeah.
Higher production effort to go create that. We
Yep.
look at Sult, lower production effort to create, no additional hired people.
Yeah.
I look at something like this, and it's like, if you told me this was still shot on an iPhone, I could kind of believe that. You know, they probably have like a nice camera setup here, but it's like single frame. Had this guy drive in. They're like, we're going to do something clever here, and it's not going to be a static image. It's almost like, hey, if a static ad turned into a reel, what would it look like?
Yeah, and turn into an 8-second reel. Yeah.
And I think they did a really nice job with this. And it's like the subtle things, like they just add like a little bit of sound. They added the click when the text comes up, and then it's clever, and it's just like a little bit more engaging and a little bit more interactive. And I can't imagine this costs them a whole lot to do.
Yeah, let's look at I feel like I've seen some really good stuff from them before. Yeah, they do these like in situ. They're a cycling brand, yes?
Yeah, and I think it's so fun because like posts on it, like how serious like cyclers and runners are like taking their gear now, like they're all this like they're all Lance Armstrong.
This is a great example of a consumer insight that's like deep that you don't get if you're not a cyclist.
Correct.
But if you're a cyclist, you totally know that for all the like Rafa crew, which is also another example of a beautiful content that does fairly well on social, I think, but you don't have to, you like basically are dressing like the Tour de France to go to your morning coffee ride or to go to breakfast. And it's just like poking fun at them, which I think is just awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen some of their stuff before. It's actually, this is a great example. Yeah. Simple, clear, but also built on a insight. And so it's not just showing your product for 8 seconds. It's showing your product for 8 seconds with a little clever quip. And again, this is probably that 1 + 1 + 1 = none. It's like, it's a little clever copywriting. I also noticed, like, if you really want to obsess the details here, like we do, that copy pops up like 2 to 3 seconds after the video is there. So first you're like, what is this person doing with the helmet? And then that pops up. And in your other example, it came in like 1/2 second after the video started. And I think that's actually like, it's a attention thing. You see that we open on the frame, and that if you had just had the frame for 3 seconds, people will scroll. But since you added that little text that pops up, then you add the Jeep that pops in, like you're just keeping attention. And it's all still premium.
Yeah. And I think that there's an important point, like you're able to pick up on those details, and I am too, because we make our own content every single day. And like, while we do the lo-fi face to camera stuff, we've also done the vlog voiceovers, and like, we just know like, hey, viewer can't parse all of this stuff at once, and you need to stagger things out. So we have that insight. We have the capability to execute on that, but it's almost like brands will be like, oh, this is our social media manager. And like, they're going to do all of these things. And it's like, just, hire someone that like knows like the art of like getting all those details right, because it really makes or breaks a video.
It's really hard. You try to figure out who your protagonist is going to be. Like we've shown these, like you've got a protagonist, you have your founder, or you have like a clever character. And in the absence of that, you need to find it, And so I think this is a shift in like endorsement models. Like you're hiring either spokespeople to be in ads for you, or you're hiring people to be like ambassadors. And now this is just another evolution of that. You need someone who understands how to shoot iPhone content, someone who understands how to do voiceover stuff, like someone who, and it's not easy to find, But you also have to be willing to pay for that because it's a real skill in today's day and age. And
Yeah.
we'll show you some more examples.
Thank you, chef.
Of course. Enjoy. Cheers. So good. Salud.
So again, that's a so those are the two so the guy who runs this frozen burrito brand, Bad Hombres, is on the left. I've seen him in a bunch of his content, like telling the story there. So like no hired actors. This is like clearly a scene in their office or somewhere. The other guy probably owns the other like hot sauce brand. And there's a world in which you say like, oh, okay, we're going to announce this collab. So let's just take a shot of the burrito next to the salsa, do a static, and then maybe in the comments say like, hey, we're going to do a giveaway. And it's like, great. That was like a beautiful 2015 strategy. Now it's like, okay, well, we're going to spend the time setting up that shot anyway. If we can get someone who just like lightly knows how to use a camera, we can actually make this a lot more engaging and interactive. Which you see with the opening shot, the text over it, the slow kind of like
pan,
zoom
yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like I really want to emphasize a video like this. It's not this like crazy production, you know, you don't need a lot of people to pull this off. You don't need a lot of money to pull this off, but those small things, especially in like post-production and how it's edited, really change the outcome of how something like this performs.
It's so true. Yeah. Simple, but good, lends itself to that food, you know, foodie, like.
It's a great opening hook too.
Yeah.
Salsa being poured across this burrito.
Totally. I'm actually like hungry now after
Yeah.
seeing it.
Yeah.
And the track that they use too as well, which actually, Antonio, if you let me, just because we were talking about this gentleman, I'm going to show you this dude who I think is really clever and a great example. His name is Obed Padilla, excuse me. And so he has, like, if you listen to this and watch this, he's basically doing these little scenes from life in LA or like growing up based on his music. It's almost like a little mini music video every time. And he's always got a really cool one. And this is a great example that actually used that as a sample of that track.
If you believe, I think you could walk on water. Throw away your pride alongside all your dollars. Yeah, a little faith that ain't good for your posture. I can catch a break. Could you throw a little softer? The homie OD'd on the way to his mama house. That should have been me when I was on my way out. Can't stand a bunch of.
So he does these like little vignettes.
Check my check 1 2. I'm the son of immigrants. My papa was a preacher, man. Don't believe in accidents and luck is just a game of chance. I used to sit up on them church pews.
Last one.
I still like old schools and them low lows. Holiday way where you gotta drive slow.
Dang, that is so good.
So good, right?
Listen to that. Is he on Spotify?
Yeah, Obed Padilla. He's a great. I mean, we've gone back and forth on Instagram. I've highlighted him before, but to me, he's like a great example of like that 1 + 1 + 1 = none. Like he's got this real clear sense of place and time and story that supports the lyrics and the theme of his music, and it's all just. Again, I think this is actually like whether he would call it this or not, it's a consumer insight. It's like understanding that if you know, like if you're vibing with this music, like you understand the scene that he's setting. Like if you've ever worked in a restaurant, you know what he just did. He pulled off his hairnet and he's like stepping out back where there's the milk crates and like you can go out for a smoke break or a, you know, or your 15-minute break. Like that's just a scene that so many people will resonate with. And it's, you know, grab a cinematographer or put your iPhone on cinematic mode now, get a cool track and like lip sync. Which, by the way, I think about every time I'm like scrolling at midnight too much. Like what percentage of content, like we have all these amazing tools at our hands, like what percentage of content in vertical video is just people lip syncing? Like he's at least lip syncing to his own songs, but like just so many people are just like lip syncing to songs that, anyway, that's just a bizarre tangent that I don't
think we have different algorithms.
Yes. Okay. Well, yeah, fair. All right. What's up next? We've got a couple other examples, I think, from sports. Okay, here, I got to bring a Nike example.
Yeah.
No woman has ever run a mile in under 4 minutes. They say it's impossible. We say it's about time.
All right. So this is called Breaking 4, and I saw this recently and it came up because I think that, you know, we have two Nike examples here because I used to just think about this all the time. But Breaking 2 was something that Nike did where they were trying to help Eliud Kipchoge break the 2-hour marathon. And this, to me, since I can speak to this, I've obsessed Nike's brand for years, but like Nike's brand is a lot about helping athletes achieve the impossible and achieve great feats. And so like one, it's something that's never been done before. Two, it's serving an athlete. And three, it's like, it's brand right, it's content right, and it actually makes for compelling viewing. And so I think a lot of times Nike attaches themselves to an athlete who's already done something cool and they just continue to like reinforce that. And this is like the brand coming alongside this person to help them achieve something great, which actually serves their brand purpose. And when, you know, I just think marketers are always looking for the novel. Like, I don't know why they haven't run, I don't know why I haven't done this before, because Breaking 2 was such a success. They did a whole documentary with the Discovery Channel. A lot of people found it compelling. I thought this was a good example.
Yeah, I love this one.
Yeah. Okay, here's a Masters win.
A teenage prodigy to a place amongst the immortals. It's a walk he's made many times before. But this time, it just feels like destiny.
Standing on this mountain takes my mind back to Georgia many years ago when I was just a babe.
Okay. So this is basically, I would argue this is a television ad that's been put in social, but it was moment right. And so I think that the important takeaway here for a lot of people is that if you're going to want to be doing premium content in social media today, you need to have something in addition to just premium content. And so it either needs to be platform right or moment right. And so this was launched the second that Rory won at the Masters and secured his green jacket. And that's one of the things that always cuts through well for Nike, which is like you have the hero athlete, you have the moment, and then you have media that you attach to it. And so the being of the moment is often the most valuable thing because social media is still social and it's about being around the water cooler. And so this crushed, people loved it. And I still think people are really fascinated with the novelty of having something like this that was made beforehand. There was a big, you know, we have a running joke at Nike of all the win ads that have not seen the light of day, that have gone to the graveyard, because I promise you that there have been several ads, probably not to that level, that have been made for Rory every time they thought he was going to win the career Grand Slam. And those have to go into a graveyard. And so, anyway, that's probably another discussion sometime about win ads, but I thought this one was good. A lot of people brought it to me. I thought it was good. I know Blue Ox is who did it, the media company, and I think they probably did it 2 days before, you know, this actually happened. So good example there.
So I want to pull up this one from IWC, International Watch Company, because now we can get into, like, we've talked about, you know, brands that are selling electrolytes, tomato sauce, you know, like relatively inexpensive products. What does this type of content look like when you're selling $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 watches?
Good point.
So what I think is, and I think, so this is a 7-minute video. So number one, this is a 7-minute video on TikTok.
With like a
Has
microscopic camera.
incredible engagement. It is
Yeah.
this microscopic camera showing one of their watchmakers, put together the 700 pieces that go into like making this watch. And this type of content, there's also this other example that we'll show from MoSpoke. When you are a brand that wants to convey this notion of craftsmanship, precision, and quality, then you have an opportunity to do that by shooting that content, in a way that kind of highlights that. And so the ASMR style content, hold on, let's actually watch the video on this MoSpoke one.
Microscopic look at craftsmanship on a leather wallet. It's beautiful.
How much do you think this wallet is?
$1,000?
It's $200.
Okay, yeah.
I think they have one that's like $98 too. So it's actually not like this super ultra luxe good. And I watch like every single one of their Instagram videos, most of which regularly put up north of 1 million views, right? There's some that have like 25 million views, some that have 10 million views. Exquisitely filmed and shot that just like show the craftsmanship and quality here, where I watched it and I'm like, all right, yeah, the wallet's going to be like $3,000. And then I go to the website and I was like, oh, it's just these like Japanese made wallets that they're selling for a couple $100. They could like triple the prices here and I would be comfortable because I would accept it because like I came from all this like super high quality content. And okay, when I look at videos like from what we see with MoSpoke, and even maybe less so IWC because they didn't like do any crazy editing on it. They didn't like add nice soundtracks. It didn't seem like they did a ton in like post-production. When I look at the MoSpoke videos, I'm like, okay, they have someone like they really like set up these shots and film it well. They probably do multiple takes. They edit it well, all of this stuff. Then you say, okay, well that can add up. Maybe a guy comes in and shoots and he charges, $10,000 for 3 videos that they get. And he's like, I'll be on site, and maybe even a little bit more, maybe even a little bit less. And you say, oh, wow, that's expensive for like 3 videos just on social. But with those videos, the MO was to show what the product is, the quality of the product. And then we can look at just an average view across 3 videos on their Instagram. I mean, one of those videos has 35 million views.
Jeez. Yeah.
So I'm not saying like every one of their videos is going to perform that way, but that in and of itself is 35 million views. That's what 35, it's like 35,000 like units for a CPM. So if you like back into, hey, well, what would we pay like our cost per 1,000 views on Meta or something? You could look at some of these videos and be like, well, if we try to get that reach with the same piece of content on Meta, we might spend north of $100,000 here. So now the deal of like $10,000 for 3 videos makes a lot of sense when we found that this format works for us.
Yeah. And I think it's the importance of like organic content doing the work. Cause then you take this and you add paid on top of it, it can go ballistic. But if you don't get the foundational good content that people actually want to watch, then paid is going to have to do so much work that's not going to potentially pay off on the other end. Yeah. Great example. And it looks like they're prioritizing Instagram. Their following on TikTok was only like 2,500, but their videos are doing much better than that. I think their lowest viewed video is 15,000 views. So they're obviously have found a right formula.
Yes. So I think we've done are there any others that you want to call out that caught your attention?
Yeah, we did. Let me see, Antonio. I said, let's go to real quick. Let's go to a couple of TikTok examples on like Loewe. I think Loewe has a couple good examples. This is a luxury brand. They do a lot of good stuff, especially on Instagram, which I could pull up. So, okay. If you look, I searched their TikTok and you cannot find a like beautiful red camera, slow motion video on their TikTok. And I think that's interesting because on their Instagram, you can find premium imagery, you can find nice photo shoots, you can find editorial stuff. And it may not always do very well, but again, to talk about platform right stuff. So there you can already see like some premium stuff, some iPhone stuff mixed in there as well. But if you look at that TikTok that we were looking at just a second ago, it has 4.5 million views. And I think what I found the commonality in all this, so it's like a funny thing about shooting a summer campaign where we're on the beach, but then it's like in December and they're freezing. And so you see these celebrities on iPhone. I think the important thing to remember here is that it is all like pattern interruption. And the brain, we're always looking for like predictive. Okay, yeah, I know what this is. Okay, this is an ad. All right, cool. I can scroll. Okay, that's Adam Driver. He's really cool. But all of this is now I'm seeing Adam Driver on an iPhone behind the scenes and he's shivering. And that is not a normal place that I see Adam Driver, a famous Hollywood star. I'm used to seeing him on a magazine cover. I'm used to seeing him in a film. I'm used to seeing him at the Grammys in some tuxedo, or sorry, the Oscars in a tuxedo. And now I'm seeing him on iPhone, like shivering. Like that's weird. And that is why this stuff is cutting through. And so I think Loewe seems to have a good strategy where that premium content can go on Instagram, it can go on their website, it can probably do paid, but all of this stuff is going to be iPhone, and it's going to show me something that I wouldn't get to see otherwise in a normal scenario.
Yeah, I think that's probably a recurring theme and idea in everything that we share and talk about, whether it's social, whether it's out of home. It's like the pattern interrupt, it's showing people things that they don't expect to see in those settings. And I think we highlight that stuff because it's a reflection of kind of like out of the box thinking and being creative, especially in a world where everyone is just like looking for the playbook of like, hey, let me do the thing that like my competitors are doing because they seem to be winning. And it's like, well, that's not how you're going to win, to do the exact same thing as them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we've looked at a number of kind of like examples here, right, across the board with that. I think highlight two brands. Here is the spectrum of what more polished content can look like. And here's how it can look for brands across categories, whether you're in food at $20 a pop or you're selling $3,000 Loewe bags. So hopefully this is a helpful resource. And I know as we talk to brands, now we have a resource for ourselves to just send them to be like, go watch this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, the last couple of examples we were even going to show are basically similar things. So it's like start with the iPhone, then move to the fancy cam, or interrupt that pattern in some other way. Red Bull does famously a great job of this, but they've done a great job of like integrating iPhone, then going to the red camera. And so all of this is a common theme that is frustrating to people, but you just have to get into it. Look, I never wanted to be a vertical video creator. I wanted to be a 1-by-1 Instagram photo taker. But you have to evolve with the platforms, and it is a constantly evolving thing. The platform will be different next week as it is today, and that is just the constant mode of communication. And so we have to evolve with the times. Hopefully this can be helpful for some of y'all. Let us know if you have questions or comments or other good examples. We're always looking for those. And if you have any marketing confessionals, please let us know. We need to get back in the confessional booth.
That's right. To tee up an episode that we're recording next week, which we're super excited about, is this is going to be our retail episode. And what this is every brand, once they have like had some success online, or maybe they're just in a super large growing category and there's a lot of retail demand, they ultimately want to sell in retail, right? They want to sell in Walmart, Target, Whole Foods, Erewhon. And getting into retail is not the thing that should be celebrated. It's how do you actually stay on shelves in retail, expand your shelf space, really start building velocity and momentum for your product, which is a totally different beast and set of insights than running Facebook ads and running organic social. And it's like, I know this well because for Sunpowder, we're having a bunch of these conversations. So the way that we're having these conversations is with our, the the sponsor for this podcast, which is Platform. And they became a sponsor because I saw how incredibly valuable they are to the CPG ecosystem, or like bringing brands to shelf in retail. And one of the things that I think is like just a core tenet of this episode is how can we bring kind of like industry resources and insights to people that are otherwise like just behind closed doors. Like you have to know if you're like an industry insider. And retail for me was always this insane black box. Like,
Yeah.
how do you go pitch a buyer? What do they look for? What matters? Where are they screwing you? How do your margins have to be set up? How does your supply chain have to be set up? Like, no one knows. If you're building a brand for the first time, you haven't done it, like you just don't know that stuff. So I'm super excited for this conversation. I think we're going to tackle it from a bunch of different directions. We're going to be talking to a couple of brands. We're talking to the head of growth at Platform, who's like placed incredible brands in retail. So that's going to be an episode next week. Let us know in the comments or DM us if you have any question or thought about like, yeah, this brand does $1 million a year on Amazon. Like, what does it look like for us to get into Walmart? Let us know any of those questions because we're going to cover a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And we've got a lot of success last week with our interview with Marcus Milione. If you haven't seen it, he's like kind of the face of building in public, like TikTok right, social right, building a brand in this era. So a couple different ends of the spectrum here that we'll see. And if Marcus eventually wants to get into retail, then Platform will definitely be a partner that he could collaborate with. So these are good bookend episodes. And Oren will be back next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great week.